All right, so we're going to use this as review yourself for your quiz. All right, now in class, we did a demonstration with the candle. We talked about photosynthesis. We did a demonstration with the candle for cellular respiration, but we talked about photosynthesis. And the reason why we didn't do much of a demonstration for photosynthesis is because that is an old term that you've learned back in 5th and 3rd grade, and all of you should really know what photosynthesis is. But here it's asking what type of energy transformation occurs. So it's talking about what is actually happening with energy. So is there, remember we talked about how do you know energy is there? How do you know energy is present? You either can see it as light, you can feel it as heat, you can hear it as sound, correct? All right, so remember, photosynthesis is the process that takes what and turns it into what? It takes in light and it turns it into what? It turns it into glucose, because that's what we need for our energy. So it takes light, so that's one energy, and it changes that substance into something else. The fact that it changes it into something else, that's what? Chemical. So it takes light to chemical. Uh-oh. Notice we had to break this down. It's not something that just wham bam. You had to kind of think it through. You had to know the processes. You had to understand the process to be able to do this. Number 2, take a moment and read number 2 to yourself. And if you don't have your notes out, you might want to have your notes out to kind of assist you. But take a moment and read number 2 to yourself. Underline the keywords. Notice what's bolded. And then let's see if we can come up with an answer. Joy, help us out. And if you don't know, that's why we're all here. So read it out loud to us. How do you know? Energy. And whenever you hear energy, you better think ATP. What does ATP stand for? Adenosine phosphate. Number 3 asks, why is the sun considered the ultimate source of energy for life on Earth? First, I'm telling you, the sun is the ultimate source of life on Earth. But why? Okay, it does it for photosynthesis to make food for organisms, so that's one way. Okay, the sun provides energy for everything throughout organisms. Anybody have anything else? Yes. You can't cut the sun off. Okay. Anybody have anything else? No? What is one, between the two processes, what is one process that every organism does? Cellular respiration. Every organism takes in the glucose or uses that glucose to produce some type of energy, correct? How do we get that glucose? Through the process of photosynthesis. So every organism uses photosynthesis, but goes through the process of cellular respiration. So every organism goes through, I'm going to put CR for cellular respiration. Which relies on the process of what? Photosynthesis. Which needs the what? The sun. The key thing is every organism goes through cellular respiration. And, well, that's not even the key. The key is every organism goes through cellular respiration, but you have to think further the fact that they relies on the process of photosynthesis. This is the key right here. So organisms that go through photosynthesis provides energy for everything else, including any plants, all organisms. All right, number 4. Take a moment and think about that and discuss it with your lab table. You might need to look through your notes. Take about 3 minutes to kind of discuss what's going on there. Discuss that process and discuss how you think it could be monitored. All right, group 1, what'd you guys come up with? What about oxygen? I know, but it says explain how the rate of photosynthesis in a plant can be monitored. You just said oxygen. You didn't really explain to me how the rate. What does rate mean? Not how much, how fast photosynthesis is happening. What is oxygen? Give me a little bit more wording. You're on the right track. Help them out, group 3. The amount of oxygen that's released. Photosynthesis does what? Releases oxygen. That's the whole process. You can monitor how fast it's going by the amount of by measuring the amount of oxygen. Now, I'm going to move fast, so if you're not getting what I'm writing, it is recorded so that you can go back and look at it while you're studying, but I'm going to keep on moving. All right, number 5. Why is fermentation, and then it has in parentheses anaerobic, not as effective as cellular respiration? Now, you needed to know your vocabulary terminology here to be able to answer this question. Justin. Exactly, that's the exact thing. Fermentation, anaerobic, means without air, without oxygen. It's the absence, and of course I'm going to, without oxygen. And this is directly from your notes, which was the notes titled Cellular Respiration Notes. This was also something that I hinted on and talked about and said you probably need to know it. The presence of lactic acid in the cells of an animal's muscle tissue is an indication of what? You had to first know what lactic acid is, and you had to know why lactic acid would have ever been produced. So this came from your notes, group 2. The lack of oxygen, why? Okay, so she said she remembered this produces cramps. And it happens when? Okay, so he said not enough oxygen. And this happens when? What process? Okay, anaerobic, which is fermentation. If you second guessing yourself and you're taking a quiz, then you're going to get it wrong. Go with your first mind. You know this stuff. So the presence of lactic acid means that your body's going through fermentation, which means that you do not have enough oxygen. All right, moving on to number 7 on your paper. Take a moment with your group and talk number 7 over. Did they ask to sign up? Okay, they already left? Oh, okay, we get there, just sign my name. All right, group 4. First of all, before you tell me the process, explain to me what's happening in this picture. Okay, water's coming in, this H2O here. Carbon dioxide is going out. It's going in. Okay, radiant energy. What could this also be? The sun. Good. And then what? It's going into what, though? It's going into chlorophyll. Where is chlorophyll located? In plants. And then what's happening? It's what? Okay. It's releasing glucose, which is also known as a sugar. Letting out a little bit of water. And oxygen. So what process is this? This is photosynthesis. The fact that it's happening in the chlorophyll that's happening in the plant, it is photosynthesis. 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 Thank you so much. All right. Number 8. Aerobic cellular respiration requires an adequate or proper supply of what? You needed to know what the term aerobic was. Naya. Oxygen. Air. Oxygen. Thank you, Nakai. Number 9. What occurs during the stages of photosynthesis? Break this down for me. Tell me about photosynthesis. Mike. Hint, hint, hint. Hint, hint, hint. Okay, so chlorophyll. What? Before it sends out something. Okay, chlorophyll uses or takes in, what is that? Also known as the what? Takes in sunlight. And does it take in anything else? Think about the plants that your mother and your grandmother have in their house. What do they need? Okay, takes in water. What else? What is that air that it's taking in? Huh? Use that picture to help you, Mike. Carbon dioxide. After it takes in the sunlight, the water, and the carbon dioxide, then what does it do? Sends what? To make and release what over here? Glucose, which is C6H12O6, also known as sugar. What else? Well, we're not going to put the H12 because that's such a minor amount. So, honey, you were going to cut in the middle of us explaining this. Say it again. And oxygen. Now, Tadarian X, have you ever eaten a plant? Tadarian, have you ever eaten greens, strawberries, cabbage, cantaloupe, banana? Thank you. We're not savages, honey. We're not savages. And some people do. If you pick blueberries, that's going out and eating a plant. All right. Moving on to number 10. Got me all mixed up. What is produced at the end? What is I putting? Oh, water. That's I'm like, why can I read? He got me all twisted. Water is produced at the end of what process? Cellular respiration. And again, you second guessed yourself. You see? Moving on to number 11. Remember, if you think about what we did, photosynthesis is very simple. Your parents have plants, your grandparents have plants, your uncles, aunts, somebody you know has a plant. You know what the plants need. Cellular respiration was the newer concept, and we did the candle. We breathe in our hand. Think about that stuff. I don't do it just to look crazy. That may be one of the reasons, but it's not the only. All right. Number 11, what gas is given off during cellular respiration? You had to know how the two processes worked. Plus, we also talked about it. Brianna? Carbon dioxide. Speaking of the writing of these, in your homework that some of you did, which was the photosynthesis and cellular respiration, I've given you the formulas, and some of you wrote them wrong. This is not, don't write this. This is not the same as this. This is CO squared. I don't know what that is. That's not chemical. This not right. Please don't do that. Same thing as this is not the same. If I wrote it for you, you just need to write it the same way. They're subscripts, not superscripts. Or exponents. Either way. All right, moving on to number 12. Is some of this making sense to you now? Yeah. All right. This diagram here shows some events that take place in a cell. First, looking at it with your group, kind of do some discussions. Group 2. Arrows going in mean what? It's receiving, meaning that those substances are what in a chemical equation? These are the reactants. Arrows going out means what? Arrows going out, away from it, means what? When you're looking at this picture. It's giving off, meaning it's also making, meaning they are the whats? They are the products. Thank you so much. All right. So looking at this picture, group 2, what process, well, actually explain to me what's going on in this picture. Okay, glucose and oxygen are the reactants, or what it's receiving, taken in. and it's giving off carbon dioxide and water. These are the products. But there's also another arrow there that's going away as well. Energy. So it's also making energy. So what process is this representing, Stefan? Cellular respiration. Very good. In which organelle would the above events most likely occur? Group 3. In the mitochondria. Way to go, Nakaya. How do you know that, Nakaya? Is the powerhouse, which we have energy, ATP. Awesome. I knew I taught y'all something. When I looked at that test, I was like, was I even here? All right. Number 13. What substance is, that should have the word is, produced, I have that underlined and bolded, meaning what is made during the process of photosynthesis that is used for the complete breakdown of glucose during cellular respiration? The substance is produced, I should say. All right. First of all, let's look at what substances are produced during the process of photosynthesis. What are they? Hint, 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 hint. Glucose and oxygen, and not during photosynthesis, energy. So you got energy. Don't write this down. The things that are produced are energy, oxygen, think about what you need, and glucose. Right? It's asking what substance produced, one of these things, during the process of photosynthesis is used for the complete breakdown of glucose. So glucose can't be the answer because it's talking about what is used to break down that glucose. Now, why do we need the oxygen? For what? Huh? Think about that basketball game. Why do we need that oxygen? Which provides us energy. So this oxygen is needed for the energy. But the energy is needed to do what? Break down this glucose. Because remember, the energy that the glucose that you have, or the oxygen you have, is helping us with the energy, along with that glucose is helping us with that energy. But notice, when you move and you're moving and you're moving and you're moving, do you stay full? You build a appetite. You build more hunger. The reason why you're building more hunger is because that energy that you used is breaking down that glucose that is in your body. Does that make sense? So the answer is ATP, also known as energy. Got it? All right, number 14. What is the substance needed to jumpstart? Keyword, jumpstart chemical reactions such as cellular respiration in an organism. It's that starting factor of it, Isaiah. Enzymes. And this came from our example of the burning candle. Number 15. What are the two reactants used in the process of photosynthesis? Here you had to know what a reactant was. water and carbon dioxide, CO2. Everybody should have gotten 100 the way that y'all giving me these answers. I have no idea where y'all brains were. All right, número 16, number 16. This should be second nature now. What does this equation represent? This equation represents cellular respiration. Sugar going in, oxygen going in. Think about you. You need that glucose. You need that sugar. You're going to produce carbon dioxide. You're also going to produce water and energy. So this is cellular respiration. What does this equation represent? How do you know? You see what? Lactic acid is being produced. Cramps after exercising. Fermentation. Number 18. Here you had to kind of look at this little experiment here. It says the gas released in this investigation is what? This should say is what? First of all, what is this representing? You think it's representing photosynthesis? Okay. Why do you say that? You see the radiant energy? You see the plant? Okay. So the fact that it's using water, it's taking water in, it's taking the light energy in. The gas that's all around it is automatically known as what? Because it's already on the outside, carbon dioxide. So what is it producing? Oxygen. All right, number 19. The gas released in this investigation can be used during the breakdown of glucose to form energy storing compound called everybody, ATP, which is also known as adenosine triphosphate. Remember, energy, ATP. Now, we're going to draw the relationship between cellular respiration and photosynthesis. Because even on your homework, I gave you the step-by-step instructions, and a lot of you still bombed it, the homework. I was like, oh my goodness, what the world is going on? So I am going to read out those instructions, word for word, from that homework. And we are going to draw it and answer those questions. Then there was a question at the very bottom that you still didn't answer correctly. All right. So it says in the top, I'm going to just draw a little box on here. You're doing it on a blank sheet of paper. Use another sheet of paper. In the top left corner, or in the top left side of the box, draw chloroplasts. Am I doing that over here or over here? To the left. I'm going to just draw a little chloroplast. I'm going to make it look like this, and I'm going to label it chloroplasts. All right? Let's see if I can put both of these on here. All right, then it says, color it green. We're going to skip that for now. We've labeled it. Directly across from the chloroplast, in the top right side, draw mitochondria. Right here? Down here? Over here. So I'm still confused on why some of you weren't doing that. Or top from the bottom. Mitochondria. So I'm not going to color it blue. Then it says chloroplast uses light energy during photosynthesis. In the top middle of the box, draw light energy source and color it yellow. What should I be drawing? Where? Some people were drawing little rays, little wiggly lines. I don't know. So this is the sun. Should be drawn yellow. Then it says, draw an arrow from the light energy source to the chloroplast. This means what? But what does this mean? Chloroplast is using the sun's energy. Thank you, Nakaya. This is what this means. I shouldn't have to rewrite it because it tells you chloroplast uses light energy. So chloroplast is using the light's energy. It's taking it in. Number 4 says chloroplast gives off oxygen and glucose during photosynthesis, and the mitochondria uses the oxygen and the glucose during cellular respiration. Where should my arrow be going? From the chloroplast to the mitochondria. Although I've drawn an arrow there, it doesn't tell me anything yet. What's coming from the chloroplast to the mitochondria? Oxygen and glucose. Notice I didn't separate it. I need to write that together because that's one substance, and I need to write that together, and I put a plus sign because it's using them both. This process is called what? Photosynthesis. Notice chloroplast uses the sun to produce oxygen and oxygen and glucose. Mitochondria uses during the process of photosynthesis. Moving on to number 5. During cellular respiration, this is where a lot of you messed up, mitochondria produces or releases energy known as ATP. Draw an arrow labeled ATP pointing away from the mitochondria and up to the middle of the box. I don't know why it was down here somewhere, why it was over here, why I was pointing over there somewhere, because it said to the middle of the box. ATP. What is that saying? Mitochondria is releasing energy. Mitochondria is releasing energy. Then it says the mitochondria gives off carbon dioxide and water during cellular respiration. And the chloroplast uses carbon dioxide and water during photosynthesis. Draw a curved arrow showing this. Where am I drawing my curved arrow? From mitochondria to the chloroplast. And what is it giving off? Carbon dioxide and water. And this process is called cellular respiration. And then your question on your paper says, explain the relationship. I think Nakaya said it best. It's a give and take. Give and take. Or one process's trash is another's, Macklemore probably said it best, treasure. Notice chloroplast releases oxygen and glucose as waste. Mitochondria uses it as a benefit. Cellular respiration, during cellular respiration, mitochondria gets rid of carbon dioxide and water as a waste. Chloroplast uses it. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. All right, any questions? All right, good.